Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Kundalini Yoga, as envisioned by the ancient yogis. So I'm getting to Kundalini. I've already done, I think, Sadhguru, which I can't remember. Excuse me, Sadhgurus. I don't remember if I don't think Lakhani has one. So we're going straight to Tadatmanada over here. Let's go ahead and get started.
An astonishing energy, known as Kundalini, is said to lay coiled at the base of the spine, dormant like a sleeping snake. This serpent energy can be woken from its slumber by the practice of certain yoga postures, breathing exercises, and mantras. Aroused by these practices, Kundalini surges upwards through an invisible network of nerves and pierces 6 lotus-like chakras, releasing waves of ecstasy. When it reaches a magnificent 1,000-petaled lotus at the crown of the head, Kundalini is said to merge into pure consciousness and endow the practitioner with enlightenment. What is this extraordinary yoga practice and its so-called serpent energy? And where did these esoteric teachings come from? My name is Swami Tadatmanada. From 1981 onwards, I studied under a traditional Indian guru, Swami Dayananda, who ordained me as a Hindu monk. I'd like to invite you to join me for this unique exploration of Kundalini Yoga. We'll seek out the roots of this tradition and explore the intricacies of its practice. We'll examine certain controversies and misconceptions. And I'll share my own personal experience of practicing Kundalini Yoga.
A non-dualist encounter. Is there a dualist encounter for Kundalini, or is the only way is non-dualist? Because whenever we say dualist encounter, is there a potentiality of dualist encounter? By the way, if you want to watch this without my interruptions and without any pauses or whatever, the link of this video should be in the description, unless there's been a mass update in the description.
For almost 30 years, I've taught the profound spiritual truths of Advaita Vedanta, the complexities of Sanskrit language, and meditation. Because meditation helped me so much, I developed a great love for leading others to discover its benefits. Over the years, I learned that no single meditation technique is equally effective for all meditators. Every person is unique. For this reason, I teach a wide variety of meditation techniques. But somehow, I've never taught Kundalini Yoga. Why? There are two main reasons. First of all, my guru strenuously warned us about a problem he called experience seeking. He said that conventional life is driven by the never-ending pursuit of new and better experiences. People love to watch new movies, dine at trendy restaurants, and travel to exotic places.
Well, there's no problem with that here. I wear the same shirt. I eat same stuff pretty much, so I think I got that pat down.
But experiences like these can never lead to perfect peace and contentment. As a young man, Swami Dayananda observed the problem of experience seeking when he lived in Rishikesh, a sacred town in the foothills of the Himalayas. In the 1960s, he was sought out by American and European hippies who had indulged in sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and now they wanted to experience meditation. But if meditation is just another experience to be enjoyed, then it's not so different from sex, drugs, or anything else. In this way, some practitioners of Kundalini Yoga might merely be seeking exciting new experiences instead of seeking spiritual growth.
I guess this is something you could see into yoga as well, where, I believe, again, the one quote I remember from Ram Dass was the fact that he was teaching Advaita Vedanta, I believe it was, or certain yogas, and he was saying how the Western world sees yoga as like meditation as a way to relax or stretching and whatnot. And he said, well, that's what they understand it, and I'll teach that to them. But should any of them seek a deeper meaning behind it, I'll gladly teach them that as well. I guess again, it's another thing to it may not be the truest form of it, but I guess like he says, if it gives peace to people, then I don't see necessarily what's wrong with that. However, I think as long as you tell them there's more meaning behind it, and should the person then choose to go deeper, but if the person's happy with what they have, then pushing something will definitely not be a good thing. So, because I think people should, if possible, if they like the meditation and all that, to go deeper into it instead of just kind of stopping at the foothills of the mountain.
It's easy to fall into the trap of experience seeking, especially when this yogic practice seems to hold the promise of bliss and ecstasy. The other reason I've avoided teaching Kundalini Yoga is that I'm completely turned off by the way it's been distorted and misrepresented by contemporary Western yogis. I'm tired of seeing dazzling, rainbow-hued chakras and bodies emitting fountains of light from every pore. Images like these portray a practice that has virtually nothing in common with its ancient origins.
By the way, that image up there was from his. So, I mean, it's not a good quality one, but that's the one from his. So if you ever do search for it, you can pretty much copy my title and then look for that image. Most of my videos will have the original thumbnail of theirs, so you can kind of see what exactly I'm watching for the most part.
Yet, people seem drawn to glitzy illustrations and trendy New Age beliefs.
It's a way to get, I guess, Westerners' attention, I mean, to me that looks a little fancy, but it's definitely not like that what they're showing there.
On the other hand, Kundalini Yoga is an authentic spiritual tradition whose roots go back at least 2,000 years. In ancient India, the holy sages, known as rishis, sought enlightenment by exploring within their bodies and minds to discover the supreme divinity hidden deep inside. Their remarkable insights and the special techniques they devised were recorded in Sanskrit scriptures called Upanishads. A total of 108 Upanishads are included in the Vedas, the main scriptures for all Hindu religious and spiritual practices. 20 of those Upanishads are dedicated to the theory and practice of Kundalini Yoga. Those Yoga Upanishads are the ultimate source for the entire body of teachings on Kundalini Yoga. The separate tradition of Advaita Vedanta, which I follow, is based on 12 other Upanishads, which are focused on gaining spiritual knowledge rather than yogic practice. All 108 Upanishads contain the sacred revelations of the rishis. So, it seems hypocritical for me to study only the 12 Vedantic Upanishads and to ignore the 20 Yoga Upanishads, as I have for decades.
That is interesting. So again, does this go back to like the four main yogas? I talk about karma, bhakti, jnana, and raja. Perhaps raja is part of the yoga. Well, they're all yoga. Are those four? And I know we talk about the Kundalini Yoga, which is more than likely going to be in the Yoga Upanishads, versus the Vedanta. Vedanta, are those four dedicated to the Vedanta, or are these four are in both? Again, so many questions. My gosh, this is getting like I want to know about all the 112 ways. I can't remember what they called it, but Kundalini being one of them. Buddha has mastered one of them as well. According to the comment, it was awareness. I want to know each path, that way I can find out which one I want to do, or perhaps I've been doing all of those. Perhaps maybe I do all of them, or master maybe one. So learning about, like, kind of like how I'm doing Kundalini Yoga right now in Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana, and Raja, finding out which path is the path that I want to follow. And mostly all those four paths are, I think, beneficial for everyone. I think those are kind of mandatory in terms of the fact that I think the benefit, there's just pure benefits to it. There's no necessarily downside to it. Now, you don't have to master all of it, but to have a grasp on each one and to just improve yourself over time, I think that's fantastic. Now, here's some more stuff that I would like to learn or just know about to see if I can't incorporate that into my everyday life already.
I had to admit the narrowness of my studies, and this led me to begin a research project, a project that developed into the film you're watching now. This project has two parts. First, to thoroughly explore the teachings of Kundalini Yoga, relying exclusively on the 20 Yoga Upanishads, and studying them in the original Sanskrit, along with their Sanskrit commentaries. By setting aside all yogic teachings that evolved later, I can focus on what the rishis themselves taught. The second part of the project is to personally undertake the practice of Kundalini Yoga, exactly as the rishis conceived it. When I began this venture, I wondered, what will I discover? Will I hear celestial sounds and see inner visions like some practitioners? More importantly, I wondered if my inquiry would confirm or contradict the teachings of Advaita Vedanta I've followed for so long.
So interesting that it seems like these are just two completely different schools. Now, I reacted to, I can't remember how many schools in Hinduism. I know the very first initial school was just very practical. The only thing you can ever trust is your own experiences, and that's it. Things from you read from the book, you don't really have to believe. Things from what everyone else has said, you don't really believe. You must only ever, I can't remember what it's called. I've only ever reacted to like maybe one or two of those videos, but it's been a long time. And I know Advaita Vedanta was kind of one of them as well, and I've kind of just delved deep into that. And I'm wondering if those other, I think some of those other schools are still alive today, and I'm wondering if they're kind of part of this too, also. Like Kundalini Yoga and the, I wish I could remember them. I've only seen just one or two of their videos, and it's been forever.
Right now, I don't know what the outcome of this experiment will be, but that's the whole idea of an experiment, isn't it? This is the book I've been studying in preparation for this project. It contains all 20 Yoga Upanishads and their commentaries.
I'm going to rewind that because I want to look at that book real quick. What's the Yoga Upanishads with the commentary of
It contains all 20 Yoga Upanishads and their commentaries. It will serve as a travel guide for the path we're about to explore. I haven't started my formal practice of Kundalini Yoga yet, but when I do, I'll share those experiences with you. Kundalini Yoga became well known in the West largely as a result of a 1967 book in which Gopi Krishna described his amazing experiences of Kundalini. Gopi Krishna was a government employee from North India whose intense meditation had awakened his dormant Kundalini with astonishing and sometimes harrowing results. His book reached the shores of America just at the time when the hippies had taken great interest both in Hindu mysticism and in psychedelic experiences from hallucinogenic drugs like LSD. Gopi Krishna's mind-bending encounters with Kundalini seemed to resemble the LSD experiences of the hippies, and this perhaps attracted them to Kundalini Yoga. As a rebellious teenager, I also experimented with LSD way back then.
He looks way, I mean, you could see his face, but it looks different. It's kind of, I guess, kind of weird to look at yourself back, you know, however many years and like, man, it's quite a change.
But I didn't read Gopi Krishna's book until years later.
Oh, so he did read it earlier in his life. Maybe.
When spiritual teachings leave the lands of their origin and are retold in different cultures and in different languages, they're subject to being revised or altered in various ways. Some changes are necessary, like the translation of Sanskrit scriptures into English. But other changes can muddle or distort the meaning of the original texts. And all too often, spiritual teachings become totally corrupted when they're misinterpreted by people whose perspectives are utterly foreign to the originals. For example, a famous book on the 7 chakras, written by C.W. Leadbeater, was filled with Western occultism and doctrines of the Theosophical Society, of which Leadbeater was a member. Carl Jung, the famous psychoanalyst, gave a seminar on Kundalini Yoga as a method for individuation, which is a special therapeutic process he devised. More recently, Yogi Bhajan brought his highly personalized version of Kundalini Yoga from India to the United States, replacing its traditional Sanskrit mantras with others from his own Sikh religion. Swami Muktananda also introduced Kundalini Yoga to Westerners, teaching a version extensively adapted by the Kashmiri Shaiva tradition to which he belonged.
A lot of influences.
I don't mean to imply that all these derivative teachings are useless. Many spiritual seekers have benefited from them. I myself meditated with disciples of Swami Muktananda as a young man. But these modern spin-offs are not at all in alignment with what the ancient rishis taught. And as a result, something of great value has been lost. As Kundalini Yoga became more and more integrated into Western culture, it began to lose its original identity, and eventually it was totally reshaped through the process of cultural appropriation. When a Native American war bonnet is donned by a famous model, or when bindis, which are sacred to Hindus, are worn by a popular singer, these cultural forms are appropriated and adapted without due respect for their time-honored traditions. The original meanings of these cultural forms are stripped away and replaced by current fashions. Kundalini Yoga has also fallen prey to cultural appropriation. Westernized versions of the chakras present them in hues of the rainbow instead of their traditional colors, and associate them with emotions, which the rishis never intended.
As a matter of fact, I actually have a coworker that's getting into something like this. I don't know if it's the exact same one as this or if it's something different. I don't know if she's getting into Kundalini Yoga. I'm not sure. I know she talks about the chakras. I think there's 7. Then she believes in rocks and stuff, so I want her to get away from that kind of stuff. I want to believe in herself and not the fact that the rocks are giving her luck or whatever. But it's very interesting. Yeah, and it's kind of sad. I mean, like, I don't know. Does it always have to always represent what it is? Like, does something always have to represent, I guess, the past? Can it not change representation? I do believe that they should, of course, give credit to where credit's due. But I don't know. Inspiration. I guess they're saying that was it flattery? No, some copying is like a great form of flattery or something like that. I can't remember the famous saying for that.
Chakras even get mixed up with other cultures, like this Greek symbol and this ancient Egyptian figure. The New Age movement has commodified the chakras, using them to advertise crystals, colorful stones, scented oils, and self-improvement seminars.
Well, there it is. I didn't think you would talk about it. Yeah, I wanted her to get away from that and point her into a different direction.
On a more serious note, a very damaging adaptation of Kundalini Yoga has arisen due to the problem of experience seeking we discussed before. There's an interesting story about this. Years ago, my guru asked me to drive him to an ashram in New York State to meet an elderly Swami who taught Kundalini Yoga. We were invited into a large room where the guru and his students sat in meditation. After several minutes of perfect silence, one of the meditators suddenly shrieked and her body jerked violently. Swami Dayananda was so startled he almost fell out of his chair. Over the next half hour, several other meditators had similar reactions. After our visit, I asked Swami Dayananda about this. He said these students were taught that whenever a chakra is pierced, Kundalini will produce spontaneous vocalizations and body movements. This isn't taught in the Yoga Upanishads, but when students are led to believe that occasional shrieks and jerks are sure signs of progress, a suggestion is planted in their minds that can trigger reactions later.
I'm sorry, I could tell the way he looked, the way he was speaking, that he had trouble trying to contain his laughter. But this is the thing that I hate too. It's the fact that, I think people, like what he's saying basically, is that, they give you suggestions in some sense, and some people believe in it so much that they actually feel that experience. Not because it's genuine, but because they believe it to be so. I mean, the power of belief is quite strong, and they think they're feeling something that could literally be their spine snapping down. Like sometimes you get sharp pains that go up my spine for sure. It doesn't feel good. Not very often. It happened only maybe once or twice in my life. That definitely wasn't Kundalini for sure. I had to brace myself. Or was it? Yeah, I didn't know anything about Kundalini at the time. But yeah, that's kind of... And it's kind of funny that it said that the Swami almost flew out this chair because of that. Oh my gosh.
Psychologists say that suggestions like these work in the same way as placebos. A patient's trust in a doctor enables a placebo to actually produce desirable effects. Similarly, a student's trust in a guru enables meditation to produce reactions like those we observed. Swami Dayananda was highly critical of the way Kundalini Yoga is usually taught, and he put the blame on the problem of experience seeking. He said many modern gurus put far too much emphasis on gaining spiritual experiences and not enough emphasis on gaining spiritual wisdom. All experiences are temporary, including experiences of Kundalini. After a powerful spiritual experience comes and goes, you might remain utterly unchanged unless you actually learn something from that experience.
Also, that's very interesting. Him and Sadhguru talk about how, if I remember correctly, that these experiences are very temporary. They're not long lasting, or I believe maybe even it may hit you, but nothing may happen. I can't quite remember, but I wonder why that is. Why isn't it like Advaita Vedanta, where once you have realized or have realized your true self, that it's not automatically lasting forever? Perhaps maybe if you reach the seventh, I guess, chakra, that maybe that's an indefinite thing. You become one with Atman, and then it's forever.
That's exactly what happened to me when I experimented with LSD as a reckless teenager. I had transcendent experiences and a sense of complete oneness with the cosmos. But after the drug wore off, I found myself no wiser than before. I failed to learn anything from those experiences. For this reason, the ultimate goal of spiritual practice is not to produce short-lived experiences, but rather to reveal the true divine nature of the consciousness within us.
And that is a perfect time for a pause. Gotta take this in small chunks because otherwise it doesn't stick. Like, it's kind of like, oh no, sit in class for an hour and you just like forget the first half. So this is a very good stopping point, actually, part 2. So again, it's very interesting. So I'm guessing as you go through, I'm assuming going through the 7 chakras, that again, I'm making a lot of hypotheses here, or guesses here, because again, this is my first time getting into this. That I'm assuming in order to get to the next level, you must learn something from each step of the chakras. Otherwise, there's no going beyond that. You going beyond that means nothing because you've learned nothing from the previous step. I was thinking to myself when I was watching Sadhguru's video on this one that I don't know if Kundalini is going to be my thing. I think Advaita Vedanta so far seems more my style because again, karma, bhakti, jnana, and raja. I definitely need to start doing Raja Yoga. That's the one thing that is so different from the rest because everything else is part of everyday life, whereas yoga meditation is something that you have to take time off, not time off. You have to take time out of your day to do, even but a few minutes. But it is something that you could incorporate into your everyday life, like Dandapani has said, where why wait 5 minutes? I think even Swami Sarvapriyananda has said, why only devote 5 minutes a day when you can be meditating throughout the entirety of your day? That's something that I think I'm doing because, again, I don't know whether it's because they're all incorporated where my thoughts are not they're not disruptive in my mind, my actions on my body is not distractive as well. My emotions are not distractive, so I'm kind of, I want to say in a meditative state, not at all, but like very calm. I guess it's the start of it, I suppose. But yeah, I definitely need once everything settles down, which is going to be hopefully by the end of this year, I can start on looking into getting into inner engineering with Sadhguru and doing certain meditations, hopefully devoting a space in the house and time to just at least 5 minutes a day. That's a good start. And then finding a way to incorporate that, maybe once I'm able to experience that, maybe bring that into everyday life, kind of like when I'm just walking somewhere or waiting for something, instead of having to think of what else I have to do for the rest of the day, just kind of maybe sit there and try to meditate. Anyways, that's the part 1 of Kundalini Yoga as envisioned by the ancient yogis. I was going to say rishis because he always talks about the rishis. But perhaps the rishis are for Advaita Vedanta. Anyways, if you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.